Welcome to my little corner of the internet. Today I would like to share an art supply haul video with you, and we're also going to be doing some swatches and some other things that I picked up. We went away for 2 weeks to Melbourne to visit some family, and every time we go to Melbourne I always visit this art supply store in Bayswater. It's one of my favorite stores that I love to go to. They've got a wide range of supplies, and I always use the excuse that I don't know when we will be back again, so I just need to pick up whatever I need right now, which isn't the best excuse because they have an online store, but we need to spoil ourselves every now and again. So that's what I've done. We just got back in time actually before Melbourne went into a lockdown, so I'm really grateful that we made it back, I think with 3 or 4 days to spare before they went into a lockdown, because I really missed making videos and just connecting with all of you on Instagram. But I do feel a little bit rusty, to be honest, since I haven't been doing it for 2 or 3 weeks, and just getting back into my routine. So I thought this is a good video to start with. If you I take it if you clicked on this video you love watching them as well as much as I do. If you don't, then don't worry, there will be some junk journal with me and ephemera videos coming up really soon, but I thought this is a good one to start off with. So the first thing that I picked up was I went to a fabric store in Mornington, and I saw this beautiful fabric. They had so many nice designs, but this was definitely the one that stood out to me with all these florals on. And I got, I think, 1/2 meter. So I'm planning to probably use it for a junk journal cover. I was also thinking of a pencil case, and these will also make beautiful fabric tags. So that's what I'm planning on using this for. And then I picked up 3 notebooks. I just can't stay away from notebooks. They've got a floral print on the front and the back. I think I always need an empty notebook just to keep notes in, do some sketches. I want to practice to draw more florals, and I don't exactly know what I'm going to use each of these. I don't have a proper plan with them, but they will definitely come in handy. That's something that I know for sure. So the paper feels really nice. I'm quite surprised by it. It's definitely thicker than copy paper, or a better quality than copy paper. I haven't drawn on it yet or used any colors, so I don't feel like I can make a proper judgment on it, but just by the feel of it, it feels really good. It's not stapled, it's been stitched, so that is the way that I prefer my notebooks, so I'm really happy about that. But these will go into my empty notebook supply basket, and whenever I need an empty notebook to do something in, I will definitely be grabbing one of these. And then I picked up this Frida Kahlo book. It's You Are Always With Me. It's Letters to Mama. So she wrote letters to her mom from, it says here in the front, from 1923 to 1932. And this whole book is just filled with letters that she wrote to her mother. I, as a junk journaler and memory keeper, just love these kind of books to read letters that she wrote to her mother. I think the older you get, the more sentimental you get, and you realize how precious it is. So from that perspective, because I love to journal, I think I really appreciate these books. There are also some of her work in here that they have reprinted, not as much. They concentrate more on the letters and also some postcards that she sent, but there are some of her artwork in here. So I have picked up this book, I think twice, just to actually page through it, but I ended up reading some of the letters and I couldn't stop. I'm already on page 46. I sort of had to force myself to put the book down because I didn't want to read this whole book in just 2 or 3 sittings. I wanted to spread it out and let it last a little bit longer since I enjoy it so much. It also doesn't hurt that the cover is really beautiful. It's got this floral print on. It's really catching your eye. It's colorful, so it wouldn't hurt on a bookshelf or a coffee table. It would look really well on it. But I do think I would recommend this book, but I do think you need, if you're a fan of Frida Kahlo and you've read some of her other books, you would enjoy this. But if you pick this up for the first time, I think it might not make as much sense. So I would recommend, before picking up this book, to read some of her biographies or some of her, just have some more background of her life story, and this will make much more sense. So the first book that I read about Frida Kahlo was this biography by Hayden Herrera, and I really enjoyed it. So I've got that background info on her and know her life story, so I'm enjoying these letters much more. I can't imagine reading this without having some knowledge about her life. So then, getting to the art supplies, I have packed them sort of around me, and I've got this book to swatch them in. I have gone ahead and I've labeled, or I've written down the art supplies and the names of the colors that I've got. So it's sort of like a template where I can just add the colors in. I thought this will be easier. It will streamline the process. It will make it go a little bit faster, instead of doing a row of color and then having to stop and first write down the color names, which could be quite boring. Or otherwise, what I usually do is I would paint out all the swatches, wait for it to dry, and then label the colors, and that also just takes so long. I have to stop recording, I have to wait for things to dry, label them, and then I can finish up the video. It just takes longer. I just want to do the video and do the editing and get this video up as quickly as possible. So I'm going to try it this way and see how it works. So let's get right to it. So the first supply that I got was these pencils. I went straight away to the Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils. I only have 4 colors. Prior to these 4, I mean, like, I've bought 4 colors and I've used them and I've really enjoyed using them. So I knew that I wanted to expand my range. So I straight away went to the Luminance pencils and grabbed a few colors. I only got 4 this time, and these Luminance pencils are very quickly becoming a favorite of mine. I've only got Prismacolors and Faber-Castell Polychromos. I've also got the Lara Polychromos, and then some Derwent Inktense, but I mean, Inktense is a different ball game, so I'm not even going to go into that. It's a beautiful pencil, I love it, but I feel you can't compare it with these colored pencils. And I actually can't compare it to any of those. They are just unique. I love the colors that they've got. They've got very, very unique colors. So the first one that I'm gonna swatch out here is Violet Pink, and I have to say, holding this pencil is absolutely beautiful. It's very comfy. I like the barrel of it and just the whole look of the pencil. The color payoff is amazing, and I don't have a lot of them, so I can't really talk about it, but the ones that I've tried so far, I really like all of them. I'm just going to put that to the side so we've got enough space here. And then the next one that I got is Burnt Sienna 50%. I sort of didn't have a plan coming in. I knew I wanted some of these colors, but I just stood there. I knew which ones I already had, and I just picked out the colors that stood out mostly to me while I was there. That is a lovely color as well. I've heard that 10% is sometimes a hit or miss, So if you have any of these pencils, let me know if you've got the burnt sienna 10%. I think that's the one. It isn't a grey. And just let me know how yours are doing. Then I've got the Perline Brown. This is almost like it's got a red tinge to it. And I don't use a lot of reds when it comes to mixed media. But I do love these earthy tones. So any earthy brown red color is something that I tend to gravitate towards more than those standard reds that you get. And then I've got Endathrone Blue. This is a beautiful dark blue. Very moody. And then I also picked up some Derwent Color Softs. Now, because I've mentioned the Derwent Intense, I love those pencils. I started off with buying 36 of them. Enjoyed them so much, I've been buying them in open stock, and I'm very close to having the whole range. So I wanted to try out the Derwent Color Soft because I have heard that they're like a combination between Prisma. They're as soft and buttery as Prisma, but the cores are a little bit harder, more like Faber-Castell. So I'm quite curious to try them out. I did in the shop pick out one, and I tested it on a piece of paper. It felt really good, so I thought I'll pick out these three colors and try it out. The first one that I got is Pale Lavender, and this is a very, very pale lavender, almost gray color. And I have to say, they feel beautiful. I have noticed though, that these, depending on the paper that you use them on, they can react a little bit different. Like I've swatched them out in an envelope, I think, and I wasn't too, it felt different to a good quality paper. So I think it just depends on the paper that you use them on. So I don't know if I'll buy, I think they only come in a 72 range. I don't know if I'll buy the whole set. I think I first need to play with these a little bit more. This is my first impression before I can decide. This was the light sand, and then you're going into mint. Of course I had to get a mint, and this mint is beautiful. I would definitely repurchase this mint, let me tell you. All three of these colors are lovely, but I just feel like the mint goes down much softer, more buttery than these two. It might just be the pigments, because I know sometimes with purple pigments they're a little bit harder, but this one goes down beautifully. So I think this one I'll definitely repurchase. I do love those colors, but I feel I need to use them a little bit more to really make up my mind. But the Luminance, I think, is becoming my favorite pencil. Then I got some Posca markers. I think they are right here. Let me just get them out. I got some Posca markers, and I've already done a swatch there just so the white can show up on it. To give you a bit of a background story with the Posca markers, I love using them. When I bought them, I sort of didn't notice the sizes that much, and I just grabbed a few and wanted to try them out. So when I first got them, I sort of bought these big ones, and I'll show you the nib. They are big and beautiful. So if you want a lot of color and you want to lay down solid color, these are really good. They work well, but I really use them for that. I will mostly, in some of the art classes that I take, I'll use them to add detail, and I don't want a solid dark line. I sort of want those lines to be a little bit scratchy. I don't want a solid color to come out. I want it to be very subtle, and with these ones you cannot achieve that. So I'll put a lot of detail into faces, like the mouth or the eyes, and I don't want this to be the first thing that you see. But with these bullet nibs, I struggle to achieve that. So I ended up from the big size go to this, but I also didn't completely love them for what I'm using them for. In other instances I did. So then I started buying the pin Posca marker, and that also just didn't like, I enjoyed it for other things, but when I used them for detail or faces, the line, the color that came out, the line was just too solid, and that didn't work. So I picked up, or I did more research, and I realized that you actually get them in this very, very fine nib. I hope you can see that and it's focusing. And these are by far the best for me. I can get a lot of detail into the mixed media work that I'm doing. You can write with them beautifully if you want to write a few words, if you want to refine the eyes, if you want to outline something but you don't want it to be a solid line, more of a scratchy thing. This works beautifully. So I prefer these bullet tips that are a little bit smaller and sharp or have a pointy end. So this is the PCNM bullet shaped 0.7, and it is quite difficult when you've got all the Posca markers to know which one to go for if you're looking for this one. So a tip would be, look at the lid. On the lid you've got this see-through clip, and all of the Posca markers with the see-through clip have that point. So since I've discovered that, I wanted to get a standard black and white, which I use a lot for my art, and then I wanted to get two colors. So I think this one I don't think I've got this one. That is not the same. No, I don't think I've got this one, and I definitely know I don't have this one. So these are two new colors, and I will swatch them out so you can see. You can sort of get a solid flat color out of them, but definitely you're not going to want to do a large surface with them, just small little pieces. If you want to do flat colors and in large quantities or surfaces, I would recommend going with a bigger Posca. But just to give you an idea, you can see the really fine dots that you can achieve with them depending on how hard you press, and you get a really fine line. So I really love that about these Posca markers. And then I got the white. I usually use this white for highlights, and this is on watercolor. I used a Schminker watercolor to get this. It's, if you do a solid color, it's not as opaque, but if you do little lines and dots, I feel it comes out beautifully. So I'm quite happy with that white to use it as a highlight in some of the mixed media that I do. And then of course I got lavender. I think we can see sort of a theme happening here because I've got the pale lavender, the lavender here, and I think some of the other supplies that I've got here, you will see, is also these kind of light purples. So I'm definitely going through a phase. And then I got red wine, a beautiful dark red, almost that Bordeaux color, and they just are beautiful. I love these markers. They are so convenient. And then I'm just going to turn the book like this and move these out the way so we can do the oil pastels. So I got some Sennelier oil pastels. Now I have not worked with oil pastels for quite some time. I think last when I was in school we used a lot of oil pastels in art, and I think I sort of got tired of using them because that was solidly what we used for a very long time. So as an adult, when I started purchasing art supplies, these were definitely not something that I was interested in. But I would say for the past year and a half, I have been watching some artists using some oil pastels, and it just tickled my fancy, and I thought I'll try it again. I will not use them as they are by themselves. I will definitely use them in conjunction with other art supplies. I'm a mixed media kind of gal, so I'll use them for mark making, adding some depth in certain areas. But I think I'll mainly use them for mark making and adding some pops of color. And these Sennelier oil pastels have the most beautiful colors. I have to say, luminance and these oil pastels by far, if you look at the open stock at those colors, it's really difficult to choose which ones you would like. But I eventually got to choose 6 of them to try them out. So I've got violet gray, and they are so soft, absolutely soft. So you can see again here the sort of scheme that I'm going for with the violet gray, the lavender, the pale lavender. I've picked a lot of like the burnt sienna, the perline brown, and the red wine. It's a lot of those earthy tones, and then some bright colors with the greens and the blues. And then I got cobalt green light. It must be this one. Yep. They are so buttery. These are beautiful. And then we got coral. Very pinky. And then is this Bordeaux? Let's just see. No, this is chrome red. A beautiful earthy tone. And then we have, this must be Bordeaux. I will see how much I use them. If I find I use them a lot, I think I will definitely get more colors. And then this is yellow ochre. I love yellow ochres. Again, I don't use a lot of yellows, reds and oranges, and like I don't buy a lot of those supplies, but when I use them, I use them on the earthy side. So the yellow ochres and the chrome reds, the Bordeaux, like very much I will gravitate towards the red, oranges and reds on the earth side instead of that bright traditional color. So I really am impressed with these oil pastels. I definitely can see myself getting more of those, but I first wanted to see how they go. So now we're moving over to this side, and I ended up getting some golden fluid acrylics. I picked up 4 colors. So the thing is, I've got some acrylic paints. Most of them are student grade, which I don't mind. I love painting with them, and I don't think you need the most expensive acrylic paints at all. But the thing that I was looking for is I wanted to find a fluid or a flow paint. So these are the fluid acrylics. So they are just not as thick in consistency. They're really thin. And I love the way that the color just reacts or works with watercolor. So I love using watercolor and then sometimes adding some acrylic paints to it. But these fluid acrylics will work just so much better than the normal student grade acrylics that are a little bit thicker in consistency. They also work well with having pencil over them and just adding some extra detail with paint markers, pastels, pencils, and they also have some transparency. So I think this will go well with some of the art lessons that I'm currently busy with instead of using those student grade acrylics. And of course, I've heard a lot about golden, I've seen a lot about it, I was curious and I wanted to try it out. So I got 4 colors and we're going to swatch them out. I haven't opened all of them. I think I opened up one just to see how they look, and I think this one might still be closed, so I'm just going to open it up and I think pull this off. And then I'm just going to use the paint on this instead of wasting it. Oh wow, there's hardly any paint coming off there. This is definitely a dry bit, so I'm just going to pull it off. This is a bit of a mess. I think let me go wash my hands and then I'm going to swatch out that color. It definitely made a bit of a skin up at the top. It's actually the first one that I opened up wasn't like that. So I don't know if this is a common thing, but I'm just going to wash my hands and then we're going to swatch out the rest of those colors. Okay, I'm back and I'm just going to put this to the side, get some paper towel. I will give you a close-up of all these colors when I'm done. I'll do a close-up view for you because I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see these. Of course you would be able to, but just to get a better view of them. And I think I'm going to just get some color on here. I don't know how quickly it's going to come out and I don't want to waste any. So this is Alizarin Crimson U. Just going to bring my water a little bit closer just to wet the paintbrush slightly because the bristles have gone a bit hard on this brush, but I don't want it to be completely wet. Well, let me tell you, I think with, as I've said, with acrylic paint, you don't have to buy the most expensive paint. You can definitely go with a student grade, but oh my word, these are nice. I can definitely feel a difference between the student grade paints and this, but there is a much bigger difference between watercolor paints and pencils with the student grade and the artist grade than with acrylic paint. So with acrylic paints, I feel you can still use student grade, learn with it, play around with it, see, I think I've opened this one before, see what you think of it, and if you want to get some artist grade quality paints, I would definitely recommend these golden paints. They are so nice, and there's a beautiful that's a beautiful color. There is, you can see how transparent they are on these bottles. So for example, the cobalt turquoise is more transparent than the alizarin crimson, but they are more flat compared to a student grade paint, so I feel the pencil will work better on them, and they're also going to work beautifully with some of the watercolors that I've got. These paints are just a different breed, let me tell you. I love this green gold color. I've seen a few people use this and I just fell in love with it. Also a very transparent color. I'm definitely not a expert when it comes to acrylic paint, but this feels very nice. Oh, this one is good. I'm pulling this off and there's no skin on the surface, so I'll be able to use the paint on this. I wonder if that's just a fluke. Is it with some colors? Is the paint a little bit older than the rest? I'm not sure, but I'll be able to use the paint off there. I actually wanted to get the teal of these golden acrylic fluid paints, but they were all sold out in the little bottles. These are 30 milliliters. There are larger ones. I think it's 125 or 150 ml. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. There was a teal in the larger bottle, but I didn't want to spend as much money since I haven't been using these that much. And I think the little bottles will go far away with the sort of paintings that I use them for. But this cobalt turquoise is a lovely color. And then we have transparent yellow iron oxide. And again, I don't think I've opened up this one. No. I maybe should have opened all of these before swatching them out, just to make this process a little bit easier. I might do it with the Matisse. Does the Matisse even have a seal on them? I don't think so. So I think this one's come out clean, so that's telling me that there is kind of, yep, I think this is actually still the plastic and not the paint. Let me quickly open this and then I'll get back to you. But this is definitely not the paint. This is part of the plastic that still stayed behind. So I'm going to open this and then I'll swatch it for you. So I got that off pretty easily and the paint looks beautiful inside. This is a beautiful yellow, and I think this is going to be one of my favorites. Can you see the shine to the paint? It shines, it's got a beautiful shine. Oh, and it's nice and transparent. See, that's going to go so well with watercolor. Oh yes, I love this color. And then I also got some Matisse fluid paint. These are Australian made, so I was curious to see how they compare towards the golden. I got Australian sienna, magenta and aqua green light. I think I'm quickly going to, I've already opened up this one, you can see. I'm just going to check if there's a seal on these on the inside, take them off and then I'll swatch them out. Okay, so I've opened up these and I think we're going to start off with magenta, and I've actually managed to get the seal off really easily. So the paint is on here that I'm just going to grab off. I love this color, it's really punchy, a very standard color, very beautiful. And I've also got the aqua green light. So since I got the cobalt turquoise, I thought I'll take the aqua green light because I think that's the closest to the teal color that I was actually looking for. I'm just cleaning my paintbrush off before I pick this color up so we don't have a mix of that magenta and the green. I'm very happy that I took off these off camera because let me tell you, it's a messy business. So note to myself for the future, if I get any more of these paints and I swatch them out and make a video, is to remove them before the time your hands just get dirty. That is a beautiful one. I think that's my favorite from these fluid acrylics that I've bought, is that color. I have to say I like both the Matisse and the golden. I don't have a favorite yet, but this is my first time trying them out. So again, I feel that I can't make a judgment call properly since I've used it for a fair bit. This is the Australian sienna. Both of these ranges have beautiful colors, And I do know with some of my normal acrylic paints, the student grades, I can turn them into a fluid paint. I think I just need to add some sort of medium to them. I think it's high flow. What's it called? Flow medium? I'm not sure. I haven't researched it quite a lot, but I know there is something that I can add to my normal acrylics to turn them into more of a fluid consistency. I also know you can water them down and get a similar effect, but it's just not the same. And this is so convenient, and I just love the size, and it's so easy to just get a little bit of paint on here compared to these. I always struggle to just get a little bit of paint out. There always comes out much more than what I actually need. So I also grabbed this color by Amsterdam. This is the standard series acrylic paint, so I think this is a student grade. Doesn't say anything about artist grade, so because it says standard series, I'm pretty sure, but don't quote me on it, that that is a student grade paint. But I grabbed quinacridone rose. I don't really have a pink in my collection like this. Wow. I actually managed to get a little bit out, but let me just show you the inside. Do you see like the mess around here? That always ends up becoming more and more, and I need to peel it off usually, where I think with these I'm not gonna have that problem. It's pretty clean around there. So I like these little bottles and how easy it is to get paint out of it. This is a lovely, like a bubblegum pink or a pastel pink. Beautiful. Well, I think if I add more white to it, I'll be able to make it lighter and get more of a pastel color out of it. But I don't really have a color like this in my range. I don't have a lot of pink acrylic paints. I think I've got 2 or 3. So I thought I needed another one, and this one stood out to me. So the next thing that I got are these 2 Daniel Smith colors. I got Wisteria and Buff Titanium. I decided to get the half pans just because the tubes are more expensive. So if you buy a tube of paint, I'll just be able to pick up one, and when I buy the half pans, I can at least try 2 colors. But in the long run, the tubes are more economical because you pay a little bit more, but you also get much more paint, and you'll be able to fill half pans much more of it. So I would say if there's a color that you know for a fact that you love, get the tube, which I usually do. But I recently saw that they're bringing out half pans, and I wanted to try out 2 new colors, and instead of getting the tube, I thought I'll get the pan. It's very convenient and I can try it out. If I love it, I can always go back and buy a tube, but these half pans will last me a really long time. And then I also got a Princeton Neptune dagger brush. There is a bit of a story to this brush. I bought it, and when I traveled back home, I put it in my hand luggage in a suitcase. And usually I pack everything really securely and nicely, especially my art supplies. But this time I just kept it in the bag with all of these, and I put it in my suitcase. The suitcase wasn't packed full to the brim, so I think this was able to move around. And when I got home and I opened it up, this whole part of the bristles of the brush were all bent over. It was devastating. But I took off the plastic and I sort of just went and molded it with my hands to the way it should be, and then somehow miraculously, I don't know how it happened, I was actually able to get the plastic back over it, and I left it in that position for like a day, took it off, and it seems okay. There is sometimes one little bristle here that wants to separate, but I think I've actually managed to save it. I haven't used a dagger brush before, so this is my first dagger brush that I've bought, but I have tried some Princeton Neptune brushes before. I have a travel size brush, and I've got a few of the round brushes that I got for Christmas, and I loved these brushes. They are my favorite to use. I always grab a Princeton Neptune brush when I'm working with watercolor. They have synthetic hair, but you wouldn't say it if you use it. It really feels like natural hair. It takes up a lot of water, and the strokes that you get with it is just so beautiful. When my niece was here, I actually bought a paintbrush for her just from Spotlight, and I actually quickly used it just to see the difference. Well, of course you can't compare them, but I took her paintbrush and I did a swatch, and then I took the Princeton paintbrush and I did a swatch, and the color of the paint was completely different. The consistency, the way that it was lying on the page. I think I did it somewhere in this book. I'm not sure. I'll go through and see if I can find it and show you. But there was a huge difference. So using these paint brushes have just made a huge difference in the watercolor paintings that I play around with. Again, not a professional, just doing it for fun, but I love this brand of paint brushes. So I haven't used one of these before, so this is going to be really interesting trying it out. Let's try Buff Titanium. So I think with these paint brushes, what's lovely is that you can get a flat color out of it, or not a flat color, a broad stroke, but you can use the point of it and get some fine strokes. So I'm sure if you are a professional in watercolor, you must be shouting at me now using it the wrong way, but you know, I'm still learning, and I think there aren't any right or wrong ways in the long run, and you just need to use things the way that it's comfortable for you, so you can get really fine strokes with it. I think you can also get some really interesting leaf formations out of it, but I'll definitely have to practice and play with it a little bit more. I seem a little bit awkward while I'm working with this brush, so I feel like I need to just use it more and get used to it. If you have any tips, you can leave it in the comments down below. Oh wow, yes, I'm glad I got this color. This is gorgeous. I think I will most probably repurchase this one. Look at those little dots you can get with it. You can really go fine. I love that you can get varied strokes out of this depending on your pressure, how you hold the brush. That is beautiful. I really love this color. Just to give you an example of some of the strokes that you can get out of it, from that nice and wide broad stroke to really fine lines. I'm really looking forward to playing around with this, and I'm lucky. I think I have saved it from me almost destroying it. So those are the colors that I've bought of the supplies, but I am actually not done. I think I'm just gonna put these things to the side, and then I'm going to show you some tools that I've bought. Okay, so I also got these Princeton Catalyst tools. I am really curious to see how they're going to perform. They come in different sizes and also in different forms. So one is this paintbrush handle type of form that they come in, and they come in different sizes. I've got a 50 millimeter a 15 millimeter and a 30 millimeter. So this is B01, and they have a silicone into them, and you use these for mark making. And I think these little ones will work well if you do small surfaces or small details. And then the 30 is obviously double the size of that 15. And this is the B05. And then we have the B02. So I think these larger ones will work well for larger surfaces, bigger papers that you're working on, or even canvas. I think the B, I'm not sure what the B stands for. Might be brush. I don't know. The only reason I'm thinking that is because this is W03. So this, I think the W stands for wedge. So you will hold it in this format and make marks with it. It's really comfortable. It feels so natural to hold it. So I suppose you'll use this side if you have a large surface, and then this side for a smaller surface. It's really interesting. They also came out in slightly smaller wedges, but they felt more plastic to me than silicone, and I was more interested in these. So I think I thought to myself, I'll first pick up these, and I couldn't get the whole range, of course, but I just got these four, and I felt more comfortable trying out these. So I am quite excited to play around with them and do marks. I have taken these index cards and I've written on them the size and a picture of the brush, and I think we're going to play around on these cards and see how they fare and what we can do with them. Which one are we going to start with? I think the wedge, maybe. Yes, let's start with the wedge. So I am going to use this acrylic paint to test out the mark making, and I'm just going to be adding it on here. I think I'm also going to be adding, well, that is quite a lot. I think I'm also going to be adding some gesso, just so I can get the paint to last longer and spread more, because with these tools, you definitely use them with acrylic paint, and you want to be able to scrape the paint away, so it should not be drying before I use them. I should make sure that the paint lasts a little bit longer, it doesn't dry, because if it dries I won't be able to scrape off the paint. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just mixing in some gesso here. It lightens up the color slightly because this is a white gesso, but it also just it makes the paint spread a little bit easier onto the paper, and your paint's also going to last longer. So I'm just going to do a nice big swatch here. How pretty is this color with the gesso? And then let's see how this tool works. Oh wow, isn't that beautiful? And then of course you can use this little bit to make some marks. So you can use it in a few different ways, can't you? You can scrape off the remaining paint and then use that side for some mark making. Really interesting. I really love this tool. I'm just wiping off some of the excess paint, and then I'll wash it a little bit later when I'm done with this video. I'm actually making more of a mess now, but that would do. So that is the wedge, or the W03. Let's go to this tool. This is the 30 millimeter B05, so it's that one. And let's get a swatch. I feel like this video is going to be very long. I thought it was going to be a very quick video, to be honest, but I actually forget how long it takes to do swatches. Oh, wow. And again, some marks that you can make with it. That is lovely, and you can even do it that way around and get something different. I think the more you play with these, the more things you're going to figure out that you can do with them. I am going to try the big one. It's the 50 millimeter B02, and it's got like a ragged zigzag type of edge. I think what will work really well with this as well is if you add a layer of paint, let it dry, and then add a different color over it, and then scrape that color off and to be able to see the pink underneath. Oh. You can of course also go this way and get a different look, and also depending on how hard you will press it, you'll get a different result. This one is quite difficult to work on this little paper, I have to say. It is a big tool. I think it's going to work much better on like an A3 mixed media paper or even canvas. And I think with these handles that they've got, it's going to maybe loosen up your work if you hold it in the like on the end and you do your mark making, and you don't just have to go straight across. You can also do like circles with them, put them in different directions and get a different result. But I think this is going to be nice if you hold it at the end and you get some more loose marks. And I think if you want something that is more precise and a controlled movement, then maybe the wedge is going to work better for you. So that is what I can pick up from it. And then let's do this last one. It's the 15 millimeter B01. So I don't think I'm going to need such a large swatch for this one because it is quite small. And I think with this you can get some interesting marks by using the point, and you can draw some circles or you can do some lines. Or of course you can use that edge and scrape off some paint. Oh, I like that. Or you can look at this. Is going to be really interesting. You're going to get so many different marks out of this. Or you can use the smaller edge and get some scrapes. So I think this one is very versatile. It's more difficult to work with because you can do so much more with it that you sort of don't know which style you want to go for. You're going to have to play more with it. As you can see, the paint is starting to dry, so I'm getting less of a scrape action, except here where I've gone a little bit thicker. So yes, this one's going to be really interesting. I think you're going to get a lot of different variety from it. But it's obviously not as big, so your work's going to be a little bit more precise, or it's going to be on a smaller surface. I love that you can use the paint that you've scraped off here on there. You can sort of like dip it in this paint and get some marks out of it. But you can also put the paint down and then scrape it off, so you can use it for definitely many things. So I think This is the most versatile one, but I think I like the strokes more that I got from those. I feel like you need to be have more of a clear idea what you want to do with this one. So I promised you that I will show you that swatch that I've made with the two different paint brushes. So this is exactly the same watercolor that I've used. It's just two different brushes. So this is the Princeton round brush. I can't remember the size that I've used. It's either a 6 or an 8. And then this is the paintbrush that I bought for my niece that's slightly cheaper from Spotlight, or not slightly, it's much cheaper from Spotlight. And you can see the difference in the color and also the strokes. And then I did say I'll give you a close-up of the swatches. And here they are. Those are the Luminance, the Color Soft, the Posca, the beautiful oil pastels, and then the golden acrylics, the Matisse fluid acrylics, Daniel Smith watercolor. Look at those beautiful strokes you can get with the brush, and then the Amsterdam acrylic. So I just want to put that away before I smudge anything. So I hope you've enjoyed this art supply haul and swatching video, and that it wasn't too long, and I'll see you in my next one really soon. Bye.